sun, you feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause you know.
Welcome to the Bassline, everyone. Dr. Judy Mikovits is a legend in medical freedom. Her first appearance on the Bassline, episode 19, is one of the most popular episodes in the history of this program. She is brilliant. She is beloved. It is my honor to welcome back to the Bassline the extraordinary Dr. Judy Mikovits. How are you this morning, Dr. Judy? I'm so glad you could join us today.
Well, I'm doing very well, Jeremiah, and I'm delighted to be here as well. We're sitting in a traffic jam somewhere in Alabama.
Oh, wow, that's as real as it can get.
Yes, it is.
That's how authentic this program is, guys. This is the real deal stuff. I have to say, first of all, this show is like an early birthday present for me because I am actually a New Year's baby. So my birthday is right around the corner, and to have Dr. Judy as a guest on this last program of the year is just such an honor to me. I'm just overjoyed for that fact. So this is a very special event for me. And with that being said, of course, please support this program by subscribing to my Substack. You can buy a chess lesson for yourself or for a young person in your family. And of course, you can check out my music at jeremiahhosea.com, JeremiahHosea.com. You can get the theme song for this show. Just buy it for $1 as a little tip, if you will, for the content that we provide here on a weekly basis. We have tremendous guests, and we are continuing with the medical freedom conversation. And if nothing else, I'm consistent, right? This is our 72nd straight week of medical freedom radio. No reruns, no interruptions, no calling in sick, none of that. So please support the Bassline and spread the word about this program too, because it's such a shame to have such tremendous guests for an audience that's less than millions and millions of people. I think that millions of people, billions of people should hear what we're talking about here because it's such an important conversation. Now, let's jump right into it with the legendary Dr. Judy Mikovits. Now, there's a new Facebook community. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, Dr. Mikovits. I hope you can join right away if you haven't already. The Stop the Shots community. Now, when the right docs of history, as we call them, the doctors who were saying from the beginning, don't get injected with this experimental mRNA garbage. Stay away from it. It's dangerous. The lipid nanoparticle is dangerous. Plasmid DNA contamination, dangerous. The right docs of history were the people who, in the beginning, were saying what should have been said to the people, that this is dangerous, it's not something to get involved with, it's not something to have injected into your body or into your children's bodies. Then you have the poison pushers, unfortunately, on the other hand. And here we have one of the original right docs of history, Dr. Judy Mikovits. And when they put this great compilation of all of these great doctors saying one after the other, after the other, after the other, in total contradiction of this claim that all the doctors agreed mRNA injections are great. Well, no. The right docs of history were warning you, don't take it. But in that compilation, we have Dr. Judy Mikovits saying, stop the shots, stop all the shots, which is the distinction saying vaccination as a practice is bad. And I have to say, and I'm sorry for the long preface that I'm giving here, but I think it's important because I've grown in my own understanding over the course of this program and being the host of this program. I just sat back patiently. I didn't trust the COVID agenda, but I wasn't a so-called anti-vaxxer in the first place. I heard from many doctors who said, you know what, we weren't really educated about vaccines in medical school. We were just sort of told vaccines are great. This is how you administer a vaccine. But it doesn't make you a vaccinologist or someone who particularly knows what goes into a vaccine or the potential harms of it. So there's a number of doctors, very prominent medical freedom doctors, who have admitted, we didn't know that much about vaccines, but now we're taking another look at it. But then there was another category of people, such as Dr. Judy Mikovits, such as Dr. Leonard Horowitz, such as Dr. Henry Ely, who were people saying, no, vaccination as a practice is a dangerous practice and is a generally bad practice. And I have to say, while I have a lot more research to do, I'm coming more and more to the conclusion that we should not be vaccinating. Again, who am I? I'm a musician. I'm an independent writer. I'm not a medical person. I'm not a scientist. But having heard the people who are warning against this practice of vaccination, at the very least, I think we all need to back up and take a whole other look at what we are doing to our health, because we also don't have really great health outcomes to show for what we're doing on a national scale, considering all the wealth and all the resources available to us. We are very sick by many metrics if you look at contemporary American society. But I want to ask you now, Dr. Mikovits, when you say stop all the shots and suggest that we stop vaccinating writ large, not just with COVID vaccines, but we stop injecting people with these adjuvants and contaminated cell lines and all this other stuff that we're just shooting into people's veins, as Bill Gates says so gleefully. What would our health look like as a society? Describe to us what would occur if we stopped the practice of vaccination? Because, of course, some people claim, we would succumb to all of these primitive diseases that we had gotten rid of. We had controlled these diseases through vaccination, and they would all come back if we stopped vaccinating. What's your response to that claim, and what do you think would be the outcome if we stopped this, as Gandhi called it, the barbaric practice of vaccination?
Okay, well, I don't have to think about it because as a PhD, I rely only on data, and I think the most important thing, and we have those outcomes as you just mentioned, and this really is the work of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Children's Self-Defense is his 501c3, the Children's Self-Defense. Prior to that was the World Mercury Project. So it was when the injections, when the inoculations, when the vaccinations contained mercury that we, a deadly substance that we injected directly into the veins. And he knew as an environmental lawyer that, again, if we let mercury roll around on the floors of our labs, we broke a glass thermometer, let's just say when I was 20 years old working on HIV/AIDS at Fort Detrick, the National Cancer Institute, people would come in hazmat suits if you have a ball of mercury rolling around the floor and evacuate everybody. And yet, the practice of injecting mercury and mercury-containing vaccines still exists to this day, in spite of the fact that the government basically lied to you and said all the mercury was out of the shots. The levels of mercury in the microgram quantities in a single shot, but the number of shots that you give basically a newborn baby, that amount of, and 2 months, 4 months, 6 months old. So to think about the injections, as you just said, we're told that a vaccination is a single protein or virus, if you will, peptide, spike protein in a lipid nanoparticle. It must be in a lipid nanoparticle if you're a viral vaccine. And it has to be injected because, of course, vaccination is not immunization, and it's always infection by injection because you're not exposed, like I said, to mercury. And when you inject it, it's deadly, goes to the brain, and we know this. And so we've known for the past 100 years, 1934, was the first injection of a polio vaccine, or enterovirus. A polio is an enterovirus. They're gut viruses. And you have to know what you're talking about. One of those gut viruses was able to infect the brain directly, and that caused the paralysis and the sequelae of what polio is, the paralysis. And so, again, vaccination is not immunization. So immunization is a lifelong immunity if I'm exposed to, let's say, diphtheria. My grandmother, who was born somewhere around 1900 and lived till she was 95 years old, when she was murdered with a flu vaccine at 94, because, she'd never been in a hospital. But anyway, she had an antibody to diphtheria, and I have an antibody to diphtheria by virtue of the fact that that antibody lasts 3 generations. So by definition, I'm immune. So the only thing, the practice of vaccination, again, what your law, every state law, every federal law requires, it's called an immunization record. Well, what we learned and was confirmed by the admission of your corrupt federal government, your corrupt WHO, your corrupt Wellcome Trust in the UK, all of the government officials in 2019 admitted they had a little problem because the vaccination injury, the injection of the contaminants, SV40 is the 40th virus we pulled out of a cell line called Vero monkey kidney cell line. You just mentioned the cell line. We don't take fresh Vero monkey cells every year and make our polio vaccine. Use that cell line that was made first, a tumorigenic cell line, because it grows, it's immortalized, it lives forever in the lab. So all I have to do is thaw that cell line out every year and inject the variant or strain of virus of the year, whether it be flu or polio, enteroviruses, which family of virus, flaviviruses are all different, and which one am I going to add to that cell line called Vero, V-E-R-O? Well, this year I'm just going to add SARS-CoV-2. So what year did we add the virus created in the laboratories in China, Harvard, and your government DOD, Department of Defense Laboratories? The paper's on our website. It's by Moore et al., Brigham's Women, and I forgot the other Chinese. It probably was Shang Li. So they all get together and they change the immunogenic. What does that mean? That means the piece of the spike protein that causes the inflammatory reaction, that turns on the fire and tells your immune system something's wrong, something's burning. So your immune system sends your monocyte macrophage stem cells, your stem cells from your bone marrow, your hematopoietic stem cells. Hematopoietic means the red blood stem cell, not any other stem cell, the red blood stem cell. And you send the fire trucks to the fire by way of what is called chemokines, trafficking molecules. So the spike protein has to tell the lipid nanoparticle, your God-given exosome. You send the fire truck to the fire as you recognize what kind of poison it is and what kind, where it is. Is it in the brain? Is it in the lung? Is it in the liver? The skin? You have a monocyte stem cell. My PhD thesis, 1991. Didn't matter where HIV came from. If you keep the virus dormant, not expressed, then you will not create the flame, and you will not be sensed by the sensors on your red blood stem cell, your hematopoietic stem cell. You will not have to turn on the eosinophils or the neutrophils or the basophils or all the 10 to the 9, 1 billion red blood cells, white blood cells from the hematopoietic stem cells are made every single day of your life. Every single day. What is a nanobot? Well, it's a virus. It's a synthetic one. Again, doesn't matter. HIV was synthetic. Never was LAV and never associated with gay-related immune deficiency. So we were first lied to in this country with HIV/AIDS when we decided to, the original deplorables, according to Tony Fauci, 1983 and 4, were gay men, IV drug users, and prostitutes. Those were the only people that could get HIV. AIDS, they were told, because those are the only people injected with HIV. And it came to us by way of the hepatitis B vaccine. So they told everybody in a susceptible category, and I'm going back a little bit to the whole question and what we said. So why stop all the shots? Because what we actually knew from 1991 on, and what we did not do, when Magic Johnson tested positive, November 7th, 1991, it was on the cover of Time magazine, I simply told my PhD thesis committee at George Washington University 1 week later, November 14th, that he tested positive. That means he had an antibody. He had an antibody, which meant he was immune. And so they asked me in my PhD thesis, everybody was freaked, he's going to get AIDS. Wait a minute, Magic Johnson isn't a gay man, an IV drug user, or a prostitute. What are we actually doing, and what narrative did we buy? Hook, line, and sinker. Oh, so it was okay to poison gay men, IV drug users, and prostitutes by injection, infection by injection, and experiment on them with the first synthetic mRNA vaccine. The little m, means messenger RNA. Your God gives you messenger RNA, which I just described. My own God-given virome is on my X chromosome, and it will make one antivirus from my own God-given endogenous in your genes, retroviruses. You have those viruses. That particular family, where they cut open your DNA with something we call CRISPR now, but the God-given gene in all animals are retroviruses. So every single mammal has a whole God-given virome on their X chromosome, or whichever is the equivalent in a monkey, mouse, cow. I haven't looked lately how they've changed the definition. Sorry, I'm a human PhD. I only do research in humans, and I only have to understand how the poison causes the disease. And the last job I had at the Lab of Antiviral Drug Mechanisms, January 4th, 1999 to May 11th, 2001, when Judy Mikovits left the National Cancer Institute, having married October 7th, 2000, and moved to a company called Epigenex Pharmaceuticals in Santa Barbara, California, taking the intellectual property of my entire 22 years of research and that of Frank Rossetti, who won the 1992 Distinguished Service Medal at NIH, the highest level given a taxpayer-paid employee. That's what we are. And this is what we were. So we actually, by 1992, by my PhD thesis, which, by the way, Magic Johnson never got AIDS, and he never will. But what did you never do again? Inject any vaccine. And a 2016 publication in AIDS Research in Human Retroviruses said standard mRNA vaccine. It doesn't matter whether the mRNA came from monkey, mouse, cow, aborted fetal cell line, pigs, horses, birds. We made every flu vaccine in chicken eggs. And if you were allergic to eggs, that would give you an anaphylactic shock. So no more shots right there in 2016. Standard vaccines, every one of them, causes the expression of HIV And every shot will drive you closer and closer to AIDS. Acquired immune deficiency. Cancer is an acquired immune deficiency. And every one of these cancer-causing and AIDS-causing viruses were weaponized and injected. And the deadliest polio vaccine, and I'm going to go there because that's what Elizabeth Warren said, and I just want to make it very clear that I want to have a conversation with Elizabeth Warren, with one of her best friends, and that was one of my dear friends who helped me as an attorney, Michael R. Hugo. Why is Michael R. Hugo important? Because together with Barbara Loe Fisher, 1984, the book is called A Shot in the Dark. Together with Barbara Loe Fisher, because we didn't know what was in any of these vaccines and we were lied to, it was basically a shot in the dark. And not one of those doctors, Jeremiah, will understand this because they were lied to in the literature as criminal fraud, driven by the same three people all the way back to 1983. Tony Fauci, Deborah Birx in 85, and Robert Redfield. And you just, we'll get beyond that. But I just want to stop because the movie, 1986, theact.com. 1986, theact.com. So in 1984, when the DTP shot was causing an incredible amount of kids in wheelchairs, drooling, as Mike Hugo would describe. And they were going to court, and they had to prove each shot, which manufacturer, which thing, and which shot. You had to call the shot, you had to call the ingredient, whether it be mercury, and they'll say, no, mercury's not in that shot. Ding, 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 you called the wrong thing, therefore you don't get another chance. So the corrupt DOJ and court system in our country was colluding with Big Pharma, which we can all now appreciate. And so in that time when Barbara Loe Fisher wrote A Shot in the Dark, and Michael R. Hugo and Barbara Loe Fisher combined to write the national 1986, Ronald Reagan brought it into law, interestingly enough, November 14, 1986. So 5 years later, I defended my PhD, but they already knew the answer. But God wins because we already got them big time. And I have a lot of fun in my world these days because people like you are I'm learning how to teach. And I'm learning how you can hear. And you are very patient and listen to me. But I try to weave the story so that people understand how complicated this is. So everybody can go to 1986theact.com and watch Michael R. Hugo tell the story in his own words.
Interesting.
And so basically, what we then knew, so Tony Fauci and Pharma Fauci and the felonious rest of your FBI and anything FDA, they all start with F's, and I'm just trying not to say the other F word.
Yeah.
Like President Trump, I know we have a better reach if I don't scream it that at the top of my lungs every time I link Fauci or the FDA to it. So felonious is good enough.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so in 1986, it started in 84 with the injury building up from the DTP shot. So I'm going to finish why no mRNA and no shot, because every shot had mRNA. So what did you do to make the shot 90% safer? 90% safer. They made DTaP. DTAP. Diphtheria, tetanus. By the way, you don't inject tetanus or you will get lockjaw, and it's not TMJ. It's lockjaw and it hurts. And loaded with Bell's palsy, and your face looks like that, frozen forever. But we could fix that too. Just stop injecting the tetanus, and you won't get lockjaw. And see, this is what nobody understands. Every single shot, you've injected the disease-causing entity along with what does A mean? D DTAP, acellulose. So we pulled out all the mRNA, DNA, and protein from the pertussis shot. We literally just filtered it and cleaned it up. The pertussis shot. Oh, a little poopy cough, anyone? It's horrible. And all of this has been proven, and I'm just going to say, by Aaron Seary, the Forum Consent Action Network, Del Bigtree on the Higher Wire, and you can go right back to 17 and see in the middle of June, I gave a talk when Del was talking about, I was a guest, when he was talking about the DTaP shot, and literally you will you won't cough, but you'll spread the infectious agent to a newborn who has no defense. So when the big bad wolf was in the Parade magazine, so grandparents get the shot. So I am answering the question in the best way I can show you. We've been lied to about all the shots by our media, by the TV, that, the big bad wolf. So grandma doesn't come see grandbaby if they don't shoot themselves with DTaP. And DTaP, now you don't cough, you don't get deadly brain injury either, but your grandchild will. That's why they just let the COVID shots go, and now they're telling 7th graders in puberty, when they need their hematopoietic stem cell not to be inflamed so that they can drive to the mesenchymal stem cell and build bone, when they can take the neuroprogenitor cell in the brain and build higher orders of reasoning and function so they don't stay in puberty. You hope your kids will come back and they'll be rational, but they can't. Most of them are arrested in 7th grade. Nobody gets shot with anything in 7th grade in the time when they need not to be inflamed, because that X chromosome that every human being has is working overtime to build bone, build the brain, build higher reasoning, and you can't be inflamed. You're going to be enslaved if you're poisoned in any way, whether it be 5G, a microwave, poisoned water like Henry Ely, to name why Henry Ely in this game. So there, 1986, Ronald Reagan did exactly the right thing to Fauci and Pharma. He said, why don't you make it safer? And Tony Fauci and Pharma answered, their vaccination is unavoidable. Unsafe. Somebody will always die. So we sacrifice our gay men, IV drug users, and prostitutes. So why did we inject our athletes in our military? Why don't you ask Deborah Birx, Robert Redfield, and Tony Fauci? Why they experimented in the mid-90s on the military injecting HIV in your vested, your brightest, so they could see if they'd come back with PTSD. What is Lyme disease? HIV Lyme, Connecticut. HIV Lyme, Connecticut doesn't come from a tick at all. But ticks are bloodsuckers. And oh, by the way, we injected our cows, we injected our cauliflower, we injected our tomatoes. That's GMO. You cannot inoculate, vaccinate anything. Your food supply, anything. You can't inject. So what do we, sorry, I'll get off on a tangent. But so the point of no shots ever is because from the time all liability was removed from pharma and MDs, the medical deities out there, you know who you are, and the docs on the right side of history, thank you. I'm actually on my way to see many of them. Ben Marvel, Jim Thorpe down in Niceville, Florida. Deb Biglione wrote that great book. The lawyer Sally Saxon, who saw this, and they are docs on the right side of history because they stood, and all of them lost a lot. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. We always do happy New Year's. It's a new tradition at Larry Dowd's farm in Pensacola. It is a great party, so if you're in earshot, come see us in Pensacola. I know Larry will have room for all of us in a great big party. So that's why I said, number one, stop all the shots. Because I was doing vaccine court from 14 to 19. From the time I was let out of my J6 style kidnapping, where I could only talk to my lawyer and my husband. Our first book came out, Plague, November 16th, more or less, 2014. 2014. Think about 2014. Think about why Kamala keeps saying 2014. Well, Trump wasn't president in 2014. Yeah, because, again, our first book, Plague, told you all about this. Our first book told you about the mouse viruses injected into doctors, nurses, and actors and actresses in Los Angeles, California. The chapter 5, it's incredible. And Ken Lively, the lawyer, my lawyer, when I got out of jail, when I was kidnapped and held for 5 days in the suicide watch, where they watch you commit suicide. Every other chapter in that first book is what it's like to endure this and how to ask God to figure out how to get you out of there, because you know what you did wrong. I know what I did wrong. And I couldn't stop telling Felonious Fauci or the Whittemores or Harry Reid or any other person who told me, who lied and injected an innocent human being with a deadly toxin. My answer was always, go Fauci yourself. And I didn't do it, and that kept listening a little bit to Franklin Graham here. So that's why I stop all the shots. But the more heinous crime of it all, because HHS was responsible. Who's HHS? Senate Majority Leader. On down. Thank God Bobby Kennedy has been called HHS, because he knows absolutely all of this. And so does Trump now and the Trump team, because that was our book, Plague of Corruption. Plague of Corruption was the book that the movie Plandemic the Musical. Now, I didn't say anything about XMRV, Project X, Z-X, or any X chromosome or anything I said in the last 20 minutes. I've never said one word of that. In the interview that Nikki showed in Plandemic, May 4th, 2020, the original Plandemic. Why AIDS? Why now? Because if you tested positive, you were either injected or given deadly remdesivir, an antiviral drug. What did I say my last job was, where I left with all the intellectual property and a small business grant to Genius Omnitura after Epidemics Pharmaceuticals was destroyed by 911, the cancer industry and small business. And they sold us all out to the big pharma companies who are now poisoning you with cancers that are not cancers. And we've changed the whole industry, and somebody wants to say stage 4 cancer. Ask them what stage 5 is. There's no such thing as stage 0 cancer. There's no such thing as stage 0 cancer. That's not the way we named the cancer when I led the lab of antiviral drug mechanisms. Antiviral drug mechanisms. How do I make drugs work for that individual poison that is 1 nano? 1 10 to the minus 9. We make, that's a nanobot, 10 to the minus 9. These viruses are seen by an electron microscope. A microscope is 10 to the minus 6. You can't see it with the naked eye. So again, everything they've done to us, starting in 1917, and I always like to shout out to my friend John Cullen, who reminded me of the book by John M. Barry, The Great Influenza. The Great Influenza, John M. Barry, B-A-R-R-Y. So again, stop all the shots, because vaccination was never immunization. So what does the world look like without shots? Yeah, and I'm doing it real time. I'm giving you every one of those oral, nasal, and mucosal solutions, meaning bovine interferon, which your criminal FDA will only allow Paximune, Paximune, and I'm going to shout out to Dr. Ali Muhammad, my friend who they slaughtered in the first AIDS. Oh, a black man in the Nation of Islam, you're taking advantage of your black brothers and sisters. And he was just like me, being a young man, seeing the corruption of the government. Oh, because our taxpayers paid to develop interferon, and you're charging them a fortune and selling them snake oil. No, the interferon the taxpayers paid to develop was recombinant. Oh, that would be recombinant. That would mean never existed in nature. That would mean a chimera. Then that would mean it had to be injected at very high doses. And by the way, it doesn't work. It just made everybody sick, treated with hepatitis B that we also created by putting contaminated bovine albumin in every drug. Bovine albumin, the white of your egg, albumin, not the yolk. So you see, we poison our food supply. We've vaccinated our cows. We've vaccinated our dogs. We've caused the zoonosis. Trends in parasitology. I show you from 2014 in April. That's the God, because our book wasn't out until November, but it was finished in April, and I could see, I knew the government stole that book off the internet. I knew the corruption in the publications. I knew the reviewers of our paper gave our paper to DARPA before we even submitted it. And they created the narrative that said it was contaminants that we isolated. No, we manufactured them. You got to use the right word. In the immortalized, viral, funky kidney cell line. And that's extremely important. Every single shot had mRNA. So when our paper came out in Science, October 23rd, 2009, written, two of the reviewers on the teams of the reviewers, one from Wellcome Trust, one right here from the United States, criminal John Coffin, at Tufts University, and he worked at Fort Detrick at the AIDS drug resistance program. So as fast as we, the honest scientists that you, the taxpayers, paid for, discovered God's protection against every poison, and not only the cellular level, but I can put the zip code on it, I can put the 4 letters after the zip code, I can target with a drug protected by a botanical, a plant adjuvant that is in an extract, not an item, purified from the plants. That's the work of our patent from Genius Omnitura. So the FDA and pharma followed Genius Omnitura as we showed them. All we had to do was change out the type of mushrooms. This time I don't want reishi for breast cancer. I want cordyceps for your lungs. I want budesonide. I don't want any other steroid that is systemic, because a systemic steroid will suppress your entire immune response. So you see, the drug becomes the poison that drives the shot, and that's why in order to ever see help in our country again, we need 2 things. We need to stop all the shots. Not one has been validated since 1986. Sorry, it's down for it. So not one shot has been validated since 1986. So when all liability was removed from Big Pharma and its medical doctors, it was placed right on all of Health and Human Services. Your EPA, your CDC, your NIH, your FDA. There are 22 institutes in the National Institutes of Health. I never worked for the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. I never ever worked for Fauci. He funded the grants when I founded the Neuroimmune Institute in 2006. And I'm going to say 2006. So everybody understands that 2008 was Bernadette Healy, the head who gave Frank Rossetti that. She was the head of the NIH in 1991 and gave Frank Rossetti that Distinguished Service Medal. It's a picture in the middle of the book Ending Play. And so, 1986, now they were the HHS, the FDA, the EPA, every institute of the National Institute of Health, the Heart, Lung, and Lung Institute, That's a chapter in plague of corruption. Oh, it's in the blood supply. Well, because think of Arthur Ashe and Ryan White. We all remember them. Oh, they got a blood transfusion. Well, Harold Varmus, then the head of the NIH, in 1999, started the xenotransplantation program. What does that mean? Xeno, X-E-N-O, XMRV. It's foreign, and you injected it. It's foreign. M, capital M. Manufactured monkey mouse synthetic. Manufactured RNA that never occurred in nature. Oh, so you can patent it because it is natural. David Martin, Pandemic Indoctrination, August 18, 2020. And I'm telling you these dates so that your audience can look up landemiseries.com. You could see the whole evolution in the heroes of the faith, I like to call them, like Dr. Lee, like myself, like Dr. Setti, like Suzanne Humphreys, like Michael R. Hugo and Barbara L. Fisher. And so these are the heroes, and we've forgotten them because we covered up. We covered up. COVID-19 means cover up. And by the end of 19, and please watch thehighwire.com from Thanksgiving Day. And I wrote every member. I wrote Jeffrey Jackson Cat. I texted everybody and said, well done. I was so discouraged going into Thanksgiving. And they played that at 11 o'clock Pacific time. And I'm like, bingo. They had knitted it on film. That was Event 201. That was Johns Hopkins. That was Germany. Welcome, Trust, and everybody else. John Coffin, Jonathan Story. Before that paper came out, they wrote up an opinion article to tell all the doctors in the world what to think about our paper. And what was the title of that opinion article? A new virus. How many old diseases? One new virus. How many old diseases? Can we make a fortune making the drug du jour? Watch your TV commercial at night. You don't target one thing at a time. You protect the pathway with a botanical, an extract, not an isolate. Cannabis, not terpenes, not marijuana, which never was. Cannabis never existed in nature till we heated it up and called THC. And yet, in 1938, when your government couldn't get away with prohibition anymore, they set up the DEA. Drug Enforcement Agency, and they just demonized Hispanics, made marijuana. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an immunization program, and we've already begun to do it, because we've got to give you those drugs in the right order at the low dose with the Genius Omnitura Botanical Adjuvant, which is FDA approved out the door because of the 2004 Botanical Drug Guidance. So you see, they don't like to mess with me, because I started June 10th, 1980. We cured cancer and AIDS. Bobby Kennedy knows all of this. The taxpayers don't have to pay price, and we don't have to beg them to reduce our prescription drug prices, because we're going to take the drugs that are not on prescription and that don't cost $3 million a dose and are not chemically castrating our men with prostate cancer as they killed my stepfather in 1989, February 20th. Oh, with Lupron. Why is Medicare paying for Lupron to chemically castrate our kids? And why are we giving prostate cancer patients when that Genius Omnitura in 2009, 3 weeks before our science paper came out, right there we showed them how to cure prostate cancer? I don't care what you call it, caused it from, but what they called was the synthetic virus they called BP62. And they could say, oh, we didn't have SV40 in our molecular clone. No, you put CMV, cytomegalovirus, or herpes virus. Oh, so you're going to dysregulate your immune system to everything else. So the kind of world I expect we'll have, and the reason why I stop all the shots, and again, I'm going to go back a minute and tell you in a minute about what I saw with Aaron Siri and Bobby Kennedy last week, which is absolutely brilliant. So absolutely brilliant, and this is how we're going to win this game. and love wins, and that's being smarter than they are, and hopefully me keeping my mouth shut.
You know what, Dr. Judy, we actually have a caller on the line who's been holding on very diligently. If anyone would like to talk to Dr. Judy in these last 10 minutes, you know the number. It's 888-874-4888. Before we go to the call, can you quickly, Dr. Judy, just tell us about your book club that you host every week on X and when that will resume?
Yes. So what we do, we're going to start, I think, after January 1st, because that's the actual holiday. So we'll start the second Wednesday in January, and what we're doing is exactly what I'm telling you right now. So what I go back and do is I have the audio version of all these books. Last week before Christmas, we played Scott Atlas's A Plague Upon Our House, because he meant our house, our Congress, because every member of Congress is criminally liable since 1986 of disobeying the 1986 Act. So this is why we have such a big problem right now, because there's nobody who's not guilty. And from the Senate Majority Leader on down, the cover-up that was 2019. So that book club is 5 o'clock Pacific time during daylight savings time. Hopefully that'll end with Trump as well, because that messes up our brains and our circadian rhythms as well. And so that book club, I play a book. I tell you ahead of time what I'm going to play on our website, therealdrjudy.com. And I listen to it according to the news of the week. So I'm always watching the various players in the game, and then I listen over and over again, and I sometimes juxtapose two things, and I listen to the books, and then we talk about it as long as anybody wants to talk. Sometimes, like we played Cheryl Atkinson's book, I'm forgetting the title of. We played that before Christmas. And I stopped immediately because nobody said one word, which means they couldn't even comprehend the depth, because it's about the medical community and all the drug books. So that's our book club. That's what we do. I see a future, because, HHS. So if Bobby Kennedy knows EPA, knows FDA, I say Stephanie Seneff, and the book is Science for Sale. I will play that. The EPA, the book, Dr. David Lewis. Science for Sale is Dr. David Lewis. Stephanie Seneff is The Toxic Legacy of Glyphosate, which causes cancer by itself. Bobby Kennedy and Aaron Siri did that in court in 2015, and your corrupt DOJ and government stopped that from ever getting the glyphosate out of our food. So the brilliance when they said, what will the world look like without a polio vaccine? Wait a minute, he didn't say, they said in Congress, the polio vaccine. And Aaron Siri got on Fox News Monday night before last, and he said, no, I said a polio vaccine, the one made in Vero monkey kidney cells, line, since 1962. That will end SARS-CoV-2, which was made in that cell line in 2004 and injected in every polio and flu shot. That'll end SV40 associated mesothelioma lung cancer and non-estrogen receptor lung cancer. What we're seeing in women, the explosion. Oh yeah, that'll end taking that cell line out of that polio vaccine, not BVA, not that shot. We keep saying a vaccination, then we don't know the law requires immunization.
Right. We
have absolutely not one was validated since 1986 as giving immunity according to God and my grandmother's diphtheria antibodies. So therefore, the whole program comes down and we replace it, and we already have with immunization. We have the botanicals ready to go. All we got to get is the corrupt government to give the people what they pay for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I also want to shout out Michael J., who's one of my auxiliary producers. I misspoke earlier. I said Facebook group. No, not Facebook group. There's not a lot of great.
I cannot do Facebook.
Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff on. Yeah, there's not a lot of stuff on Facebook that you can get involved with to the extent that you can on X. So it is a new community on X, Stop the Shots. If you don't have an X account, I've said it before. I mean, I hate to promote a corporation for free, but it's just basically like having a car. It's just a vehicle. It's a means of communicating. You can listen to and participate in Dr. Judy's book club on a weekly basis. We've been having sort of a marathon of nightly spaces with me and Dr. Ben Marble, Dr. Andrew Zhivjets, and other great doctors have stopped in on a nightly basis as we've been promoting the new Stop the Shots community. So we'd love for you to join us over there and to help us spread the word. But very diligently holding for a while, we've had Amanda on the line from Oklahoma City. How are you, Amanda? Thanks for being patient.
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Do you have a question for Dr. Judy?
Yes, Judy, I wanted to let you know that I've basically been trying to get a hold of you for some time. I have some research that I think that, along with some of the stuff that you've been through, that I think that you need my research, and I think we need to talk. If there's any way that through the we can get together somehow and discuss some of these things. I had a pig implant, a biological one, put in my body that I was never told it was put in there. In 2006, I've not been monitored. There's a lot of things that I believe through what you went through with back with Fauci with the AIDS and all that they put you through with that. There's a lot of things that I've seen that were similar that you need to know, and I think that there's things that you could help me with some of the little things that I need to know.
Well, sure, yeah, on X basis, but I give everybody my phone number. My phone number for you is 805-797-6967. 805-797-6967. Text me.
I got it. Thank you.
If you call it, I almost certainly won't answer it, but I will sometimes say I'll call you later to check to make sure you're not bothered.
I understand, girl. I understand. And blessings to you, and I'm sorry that all that you've been going through to try to get the truth out about what's going on. And I think that we can help each other out. I'm looking forward to talking with you, and I'm thankful for this program that my friend introduced me to be able to contact you because you've been in my heart. Thank you. Both of you, all of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Amanda. That's what we look for in the new year. You might ask what I do in the new year. Well, I try really hard every day, but especially in the new year, on your birthday, to say let's truly make this a rebirth and see if I can follow Jesus just a little bit better and take just a second longer, to try to speak the truth in love and not scream quite so much.
I got a great note from my auxiliary producer, Michael J., who said, if everyone in power is guilty, then we need some sort of truth and reconciliation committee at this point, commission. But, as someone said very, very poignantly, it's great to do truth and reconciliation, but you can't do truth and reconciliation without, first of all, the truth. Can't gloss over the truth part and jump right to the reconciliation.
And that's where I think what you're going to get. The truth is Trump, Kennedy, Tulsi, everybody came to the game, all of us. Ben Marble, your doc's on the right side of history, everybody in that group, we're all together, and all we said to the team is, here I am, how can I help?
Well, it's been such an honor to have you, Dr. Judy. I wish you the very best in the new year, and I really encourage people to join your spaces every Wednesday night. It's so much information. It's a great community to be a part of. Please join and share the link to the Stop the Shots community on X, formerly known as Twitter. There are great spaces being held on a regular basis. It's a great way to join forces with other medical freedom fighters. You can meet and communicate with the right docs of history who not only are admirable in the stance that they've taken, but they're moving forward in terms of all sorts of new progressive initiatives and new models of healthcare that really are very solution oriented and very positive. So as they take the initiative to put these new models out there for us to benefit from, it's our responsibility to be aware of what they're doing and to support those efforts. And thank you everyone for tuning in. As always, please be safe over the New Year holiday. Enjoy yourself, but please be careful. Don't drink and drive and that sort of thing. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay strong and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Peace and love, everyone. And thanks, Dr. Judy Mikovits. Talk to you soon.
Peace and love, Jeremiah.
With open arms towards the sun, you feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive.